I don't know. I know it's not my call. It's not my call. But yeah, we had a meeting on Monday or Tuesday. We had a meeting after school in which they told us about those guidelines for 15 minutes, and it was just like, okay. And then he's like, it's going to be a crap show. That's what it's going to be. But there's nothing we can really do about that, unless, because what was it? Jackson Liberty shut down, Woodbridge shut down, whole bunch of other schools. But that's where we're at. I'm excited. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, just as a reminder, again, with that week off, after that week off, we're still in the first marking period during that week. And of course, the 16th, as we just discussed, that is when we're all back together, and that's the beginning of the second marking period. So I will either see you 2 or 3 days a week. What? Oh, no, I was going across the week. Yeah. I was sliding my hand across the week. Yeah. But, yeah, it's going to be a little crazy because then you come back during this. I'm sorry, you come back during this week, and then there's the second marking period, and then there's Thanksgiving week. But yeah, that's where we're at. Now, the assignment on Google Classroom is an Edulastic major. My intention for today is to review. I told Thursday kids, and I only have one in here so far, I don't know, but I told Thursday kids that, hey, you got to be in here. You got to do this review with us, because otherwise you're going to miss that review. My intention is to make a video kind of reviewing the questions from the review after the fact, because I want to give you an opportunity to try to do this in class today. I have a quizzes that is set up as a review, as a study guide, so to speak. And then, like I said, I'm going to review some questions with you in class. I'm not going to get through all of them, but I'm going to try and go through as many as I can. And then I'm going to make a separate video just going over all those questions.
So is this Edulastic the one that's due October 31st?
Yes.
Is that the same one?
No. No. Different. It's different. Yeah. That's a different major. I'm trying to be more consistent with how I name them, so I'm trying to stick to like unit thing. I changed my style of naming them, but they are 2 separate majors. Yes. Get it back. Anyway, but yeah, that major, if you mentioned it's due on the 31st. I specifically did that because I wanted to give people a little extra time. Tomorrow is SAT, so you have extra time. Friday is virtual day, so you have extra time. And then I give you a little extra on Saturday.
I'm going to go over like one of the questions that are like, there's one on Edulastic, and it's like something like I, substitution of I.
The previous one?
Yeah.
I made a video about it. I posted it on the Google Classroom stream.
On the stream?
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on one second. Let me find that exact post here. So I'm on the 3B one. There it is, from October 16th. That video will review all the questions from last week's major on Edulastic. If you did not take it, the Edulastic links are closed. Please review the questions as the subject matter will come back around on future assessments. So it's from October 16th. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I made that video and I made that post. That video only had 1 view, out of like 40 something.
Like, is it on like YouTube? Because I can't see it on Google Classroom, like the video that you posted.
Well, I posted the link, and if you click the link, it takes you to YouTube. Tell you what, I will now. I'm going to move forward with what I'm doing, but I will. Oh, okay. I was going to say I was going to email you the link, but okay. But anyway, I want to get started with what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, get on those Chromebooks, as I said before. Let's go to quizzes. Let's go to quizzes. For those of you in the live stream, I'm going to be jumping over in a little bit for that. It's going to be great. My library review. Start a live classic. Let's flip that over. Let's see here. I'm going to do redemption questions for the fun of it, just because I can. Continue. Chapow. For those of you in the live stream, you probably can't see the number because there's a giant glare in your way. So I'm going to write the number here. There we go. 485. I got to lower that volume. 485-222. Let's go this way. It's really obnoxious loud. There we go. So, I would strongly suggest, as you are working through this review, that you have out a scrap piece of paper and or your notebooks, because there may be some things that you want to look up, or there may be some problems that you need to scratch out before you decide to select it on the computer. This is a review. You're going to have the time to get this thing done. I'm going to go roughly, I can't even think right now, maybe 10:40-ish, maybe 10:45-ish, something in that range for you to kind of finish this review. So I am giving you the time to take your time with these problems and give them your full attempt. I will review the worst ones, the ones that show up red on the quizzes. And like I said, I'm going to make a video kind of reviewing these problems as well. So there's 7 of you here. Again, I don't know where my Thursday kids are at. Thursday kids could join in on this too. I told them. You saw my post earlier in the week. But anyway, we're going to get started with this. They can join in if they want. That code will be at the top of the screen once I click it. Let's get moving. You have calculators on your Chromebooks as well. So if you need to access that calculator to do something, by all means do that. Here we go. Boom. And for those of you in the chat, if you're joining in, the code is now at the top of the screen. 485222.
one question that I like didn't know how to do in the edge elastic, because I was taking it yesterday, and this is it. The, one where it's like h equals -16 p squared plus 2.
Mr. Mason, please call the main office. Mr. Mason, call the main office.
Problem that you have.
Well, it's like great to plug it in, it gives you the equation, it's like plug it in, right?
Gotcha. That may be one of the ones we're gonna review. the music to stop. Cool. There we go. All right, here's what I want to do. You can take those Chromebooks, load them down. I would like to go over some questions with you. Now, there are some questions that are more important than others. There are questions that I would like to start with, which are the ones that are definitely in red. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these questions into my notes, and I'm going to strongly suggest that you do the same thing. So I'm going to have those notebooks out and open. I'm going to call this major review. Give it today's date. I'll show you what I'm writing in a moment. Because first, I got to click to number 7. There we go. Now, I'm first going to go over the red ones. And then we can backtrack and hit some of the yellow ones. This is what I'm writing. For this first problem, it says to solve the following quadratic, 15x squared plus 22x equals -8. Now, you can solve this quadratic by any number of ways. It does not specify how to solve the quadratic. But regardless of how you decide to move forward with this problem, you must first and foremost add that 8 to both sides. You need to get one side of that equation equal to 0. Otherwise, the beginning of solving the quadratic cannot happen. Now, you could use factoring. You could use quad formula. The problem doesn't specify which one you should use. In fact, if you look at the choices were just a bunch of fractions. Just fine. Perfectly fine. Let me just see if I can factor this thing. Oh, wow. Would I want to factor this thing? Here's the thing. I'm looking at this problem and I'm like, okay, 15 times 8. 15 times 8 is going to give me 120. I'd have to find two numbers that multiply to 120 and add up to 22. Wait a minute. That actually could be done pretty easily. Hold on. A times C is 120. Two numbers that multiply to 120 and add up to 12. Or, I'm sorry, add up to 22. I got ahead of myself. Are 10 and 12. That wasn't too bad. Now, I bring you back to a star that I put into your notes many, many moons ago. The star that I put into your notes. If factoring cannot be done, or if you don't want to do factoring, or if factoring is just not possible, or if factoring fails, the quadratic formula will always work. You could go back and just do the quadratic formula. I'm going to continue with factoring for this particular problem because I know that I'm going to do the quad formula for something else. I get 15x and 15x. I'm going to have to simplify this junk down. Divide by 5. Divide by 5. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. I get a 3x plus 2 and a 5x plus 4 equals 0. Now, I'm not done yet. I am not done yet, but that is the completion of factoring. The problem wanted me to solve, which means I'm going to have to get my zeros. I'm going to have to get x equals for solution. If you set each of these equal to 0 and solve, you would get an answer of -2/3 and -4/5. -2/3, -4/5. The quadratic formula will get you the exact same answer. Let me flip this over. You can see that right there. Boom. -2/3 and -4/5. The answer on the far right. 3 of you chose this answer. That was interesting. Just the negatives and the positives. Get out of there. The negatives and the positives, kind of messing around with it. I'm going to jump to number 13. Ooh, number 13. I love this. Let's talk about number 13. Here, I'm going to flip this back real quick, just so if people didn't get an opportunity to write that down, they can write that down. I'll leave that up there for a moment. But then I'm going to show you multiple ways to do number 13. Multiple ways to do number 13. And with number 13, let me just double check real quick. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. With number 13, they give you this information. That's all they give you. And they tell you, well, they don't tell you anything. They just basically assume that you know that you're supposed to solve this thing. All right, that's cool. I got to solve this thing. Actually, let me see what most of you chose. Hold on. Let me flip this back. Freeze. There we go. I froze the screen just to see what most of you chose. Oh, interesting. Okay, unfreeze. Most of you chose 5. Logically, 5 squared is 25. Yeah. But what else squared is 25? Yeah. Let me flip over here real quick. Now let's just pretend you didn't know any of that. Okay. Let's try to solve this thing. You can solve this thing by setting it equal to 0. And you can choose to either do the quadratic formula or factoring. Factoring will work here. Doesn't always, but it does here. A times C is negative 25. 5 and negative 5 are my magic numbers because they multiply to negative 25 and they add up to the B value. The B value is missing. Thus, the B value is 0. T chart, X and X, 5 and negative 5, X plus 5, X minus 5. You're going to get 2 solutions, negative 5 and positive 5. Again, you could also do the quadratic formula. That is perfectly acceptable as well. But you're going to get 2 answers here. Most quadratics are going to show you exactly 2 answers. So if you're only getting one of those answers, that's a bit of a problem. I'm going to flip back real quick. A lot of people look at this problem. Actually, you know what? Right here. A lot of people look at this problem where my pen is pointing. A lot of people look at that problem. They're like, square root both sides. Yes, you could square root both sides. You absolutely could square root both sides. However, you have to realize that when you introduce a square root, there has to be a plus or minus accompanying it. There has to be a plus or minus accompanying it. Now, if you think about the quadratic formula automatically has a plus or minus built in. But you're going to get those 2 solutions. Be careful. Be careful. After number 13, let's jump down to 22. Here we go. 22 and 23. I love me some word problems. Question. The problems were shuffled for you guys, right? Cool. Okay. I tried to make sure that I did that. I just couldn't remember if I had set that setting or not. H equals negative 16 t squared plus 288 plus 8. Here we go. Jason launched a rocket. The equation can be used how many seconds will it take for the rocket to reach the ground? Okay. Draw a little picture. We did this last week. There's when the rocket hits the ground in explosion. Basically, since they're telling you how long, or since they're asking you how long, you have to solve for t. I forgot to put a t in there. There you go. You have to solve for t. Solve for the t variable, the x variable. The height of the rocket when it hits the ground is 0. Thus, this is the equation that you have to solve. Now, it would be kind of cool if I could factor this thing. However, I do not believe that it is factorable. Let me check the discriminant. Let me check the discriminant to see if it's factorable. If it's factorable, I would love to be able to factor it, but I'm just going to double check what the discriminant actually is there. Let's see, 288 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 8. Oh! 83,456. I'm going to take a square root. Oh, yeah, that's totally not factorable. If it were factorable, then that would be a perfect square. Clearly, it's not a perfect square. So it's not factorable. So instead, I'm going to have to use the quad formula. Good thing I already got it started. Negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant that I just found divided by. Now, I'm going to say the words 2 times a, but look what I wrote. I said the words 2 times a for the bottom of the fraction. And yes, it is 2 times a. But instead of writing it as 2 times negative 16, I just wrote it as negative 32. I just saved some time. Let me see. Does that match any of the answers? No, clearly it doesn't match any of my answers because I have to evaluate that thing. I have to evaluate that thing. So, you guys have the TI-84 calculator. I personally have the TI-83 calculator. I'm just showing you both so you can be extra careful with how you calculate this thing. Parentheses, negative 288 plus square root of 83,456. Close, divided by negative 32. I'll hit enter in a moment. Let me type it into the 84 because you guys have the 84s on your Chromebooks. Parentheses, negative 288 plus square root, which of course the square root is weirder than the one on the actual calculator. It has that weird arrow key, but I still have to close the top of my fraction divided by negative 32. Be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Boom, boom. Yay! However, that's clearly not my answer. The rocket is being launched forward in time. When will it reach the ground? Hey, do you remember how I bring all this back without having to retype it? Do you remember? Second, enter. It brings it all back. And you can just change that plus to a minus. Second, enter. Come on. You just change that plus to a minus. There's the answer that I need. There's the answer that I need. Put that over there. So technically, zoom back out, I get 2 answers. The 2 answers that I get are negative 0.028 and 18.03. Clearly, that's the one that I need, considering the picture that I just drew earlier. And if you check the answers that they gave you, the answer has to be 18. Yep, there it is. Get out of that. There we go. A lot of the time, yeah, you're going to get those 2 answers. You just have to identify which one is correct based on the context of the problem. Let's look at number 23. Ooh, I love it. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to freeze this. Freeze. I'm going to do that. Unfreeze. There we go. So you can't see what's going on. I'm going to draw number 23 on the board, actually. I already have the screen up here. I'm going to point something out for this problem. Most of you agreed in terms of the answer that you chose. Most of you agreed in terms of the answer that you chose. There's that. Ooh, toughest question. I love that they labeled it. Let's talk about why. What is this?
Right there. -3. It is known as the what? The what of the graph? What is it? It's a 0 of the graph. Also a. What are the other words? It's the 0 of the graph. It's the root. The two more. X-intercept. What was the last one? I can hear you. Solution. Yeah, it's the solution. Absolutely. Now, here's my point, though. -3 is all those things. Yes, nothing changes that. Absolutely correct. The problem didn't ask for that. The problem didn't ask for a solution. The problem didn't ask for a root. The problem didn't ask for a 0. The problem didn't ask for an x-intercept. The problem asked for a factor. And considering the fact that I wanted a factor, x equals -3 is my solution. But if you add 3 to both sides, x plus 3 is my factor. It's like working backwards. Same thing with this one over here. It's 8, 0, or x equals 8. But that means x minus 8 was my solution. X minus 8 was my solution. If I show the answers, click, there we go. Now, yes, you can see one player did choose this for each of them. However, it only gave you credit for the problem. It's a check all that apply or select all that apply or select whatever. So you had to select both of them. So one of you may have done like the positive or whatever, or maybe the positive and the X. But yeah, it had to be those two. Oh, fun, oh, fun, oh, fun. Let's take a look at one of the yellow problems. Now, the yellow problems, more of you got it right. Let's take a look here. Okay, there's a good one. There's a good one right here. Freeze, boom, doop, and unfreeze. There we go. I'm going to write that down. Write down this problem. This problem wanted you to find the vertex. We had under 50%. This is number 2. Number 2 wanted you to find the vertex of y equals -2x squared plus 4x plus 3. Let me flip over here. There we go. That's what they wanted. Let me get rid of that. The vertex formula, what we need is -b over 2a. That's what we need. You think of the word vertex, you want -b over 2a. We talked about this when we're dealing with that rocket. No, it was a tennis ball. That tennis ball flying through the air. The highest point that the tennis ball would reach. -b over 2a. -4 over 2 times -2. I need you to be careful. I need you to be very careful with how you do this. I've seen people type this thing in like this. I'll zoom in so you can see. I've seen people type it in like this. And they're like, look, Mr. Markey, I did it. No, you didn't. Okay, fine. I'll type it in with parentheses. Look, Mr. Markey, I did it. No. The correct way to do this, if you want to type it in all in one shot, is that. That's what the x value of the vertex should actually be. The x value, not the whole thing, but the x value. You need to make sure you are evaluating the bottom of the fraction first. The bottom of the fraction should become -4. Thus, it's +1 as the x value of the vertex. If you want to find the y value, did they want the y value? Yeah, they totally wanted the y value. You want the y value, you got to plug that thing back in. So you got to plug that thing back in. If you do that correctly, it should be -2 plus 4 plus 3 should be 5. 1, 5. Input versus output. That's what that thing should be.
we need to be careful with how we do this, because if you mess up that first step, that second step is going to fall apart. Look at the answers here. Flip. Flip. There it is. Let me see. You had mentioned one of the height problems where you had to plug something back in. Was this it?
No, I'm on the edge of last piece of putting back in, but it was so rough. That was everything.
Okay.
There was another one.
Yeah.
Was it this one?
There's that one and the first one. Everything's
Yeah, the brick one that you showed, that one was one.
Nice. This one.
Yeah.
Cool. Hold on. Freeze. Open. Cool. I'm just looking at what you got. Cool. We'll do this one. This will be the last one we do then. Unfreeze. This will be the last one we do then. Come here, brick one. So I'm going to write down for number 16. I'm going to write down number 16. I'm going to write down h equals negative 16t squared minus 21t plus 200. And they say a brick falls from the top of a building. The equation is that. Represents the height of the brick in feet after t seconds. How long will it take for the brick to reach the ground? Ah, yes. How long will it take for it to reach the ground? This is going to be a quad formula problem. I feel it in my bones. I can double check it. But the way that you know whether or not it's factorable, you can check the discriminant. If the discriminant's a positive perfect square, then maybe it is factorable. But this one gives you 13,241. Yeah, that square root's a decimal. Gross. This is what I got to do. So let me write this out piece by piece. Negative b, look how I wrote that, plus or minus the square root of the discriminant over 2 times a. Again, look how I wrote that. I'm just kind of writing it out full hand. It should be 21 plus or minus that square root, which I'm going to type into my calculator in a moment, the whole thing, over negative 32. It's important that you simplify this down piece by piece. Get it down as simply as possible before you have to jump at the answer. How long before that brick hits the ground? How long until your brain is smashed in? Let's see, 21 plus square root. Have you ever heard the story of throwing a penny off the top of the Empire State Building?
Yeah.
It's fake.
I thought so.
It's a fake story. The penny will never actually reach the ground because the way that the building is designed and the way that the winds flow throughout New York City, at some point the penny would be thrown back against the building and would land on one of the upper levels. It would never reach the ground, no matter how far you throw it. You've been lied to. Anyway, 75%. Anyway, here we go. Here are my two calculations. You can see that I get negative 4.25 and I get 2.94 seconds. Negative 4.25, positive 2.94. On the quizzes, they only gave you 3 choices. 2.94 rounds down. That's why the answer was 2.9 seconds. To my screen? To here?
When we go for negative 4.25. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, one with the positive, one with the negative. Like I said, that online major is there. The due date is not until Saturday. Tomorrow's PSAT day, so you got time. Friday's a virtual day. You got time. I give you also part of Saturday. You got time. Set aside the time. Get that thing done. I'm going to hopefully post this video today going over the rest of the quizzes. See ya.